Two teens accused of breaking into a home in Melbourne around dawn yesterday morning have already been granted bail out by dusk. They were part of a group of four who allegedly busted into a horrified couple's home wearing balaclavas and then stood over them as they slept. The gang of repeat offenders, aged from 15 and 17, were charged with multiple offences, including theft of a motor vehicle and home invasion. For their take, let's bring in broadcaster Justin Smith and the founding director of Western Sydney Women, Amanda Rose. Good morning to both of you. Justin,
morning.
You are in Melbourne. You are hearing what that whole state is talking about, bail laws. Take it away.
Look, it's just, and this will be, as sad as this looks and as awful and terrifying as this looks, this will be far from the worst example that we've seen in the last few years. We have seen teenagers, I hate putting it back on teenagers, let's just say criminals that have been given bail a dozen times, more than a dozen times. I've talked to police who say it's well into the 20s where they have committed crimes and have been given bail. A lot of the focus tends to be put on whether we need to strengthen the bail laws. This is the frustrating point. The laws are already there. It is then up to the judge and the courts to be making these decisions, and the prosecution to stop doing deals and to actually start locking a few people up. So we can change all the laws we want, but they are already there, and we've had governments of both persuasions that have refused to go after the courts. It is back to the courts here. They've refused to go after the courts and hold them accountable to what they're doing. That's the whole reason we're in this bloody mess right now.
Yeah, and at the bottom of the pile are the poor police rounding them up, hauling them before the courts.
Who are catching them. They're catching them.
They're as frustrated as everyone else. Amanda, what's the answer here? Because can the government make the courts put a harsher penalty in for these young guys?
Well, they just need to call the magistrates out, actually highlight what the issue is, because this is why the police quit, because they're locking up the same people over and over again, and why am I bothering to do this? And the danger here is that people will start taking matters into their own hands. If they don't feel like that they're protected, because they're worried that those same criminals will come back to their home, maybe out of revenge because they called the police on them, and then they'll take matters into their own hands, and who knows what will happen. So we need brave politicians to actually stand up and say, this is where the issue is, call it out for what it is. The judges are actually letting them off. Why and how can we fix that? Say it as it is.
We've seen it in Victoria. We have definitely seen it in Queensland. Parts of New South Wales, especially regional towns, this is happening in
Absolutely.
too. OK, let's move on to Canberra Raiders. Players have apologised after a late-night hotel clash which saw teammates go head-to-head in a hotel elevator. It was all because of a check-in malfunction which left one of them without a room and wanting to sleep in the same room as another player, where he was met with resistance. Justin, apparently an inflatable baseball bat was involved in a lift.
The old inflatable baseball bat.
Baseball bat. What do you think of this one?
Got one right here. No, look, they've owned up. They're owning it. But I would also say this: if it happens again, then the Raiders only have themselves to blame. If they're not going to send these guys home, if they're going to let them stay there,
should they go home
and
over
let
this?
them? Oh, well, yeah. Look, I would say. Look, you've got to be there to call it. But, yeah, I mean, do you really want this happening again? It was pretty awful behaviour. But the best thing is they have owned it. That's the key.
It's storm in a teacup.
What do you think? Because, I mean, fair enough, if footy players go rogue, there's a lot of accusations.
It was isolated. It was in an elevator with each other.
With a and also,
inflatable bat. But whatever happened to what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas?
Oh, come on.
Seriously,
iPhones happen to that.
No, but the thing is, I think it's a storm in a teacup, and I think people are also very sensitive now when it comes to footballers and anyone saying what happens. People jump on it and they just talk about it in the media. I'm like, calm down. They also need to be aware that people are filming, watching and going to essentially dob on them every second that they can because of, it's a great story. But this is, I think, an overreach.
I do too. I just think that they
had a fight.
I'm on the footballer's side this time, and I just think they get canned for all sorts of things. And with absolutely good reason.
For goodness sake, it wasn't like someone was caught with cocaine, you know, and horrific things which needs to be dealt with. This is just two guys are having it out, their mates, right? And they had a fight.
An inflatable bat.
Well, that's right.
I'm
It
glad
wasn't
they're
even
mates.
a real bat. I think we need to
I hate
calm
to see if
down.
they hated each other.
Yeah, but they're just mucking around. I
Okay,
mean,
sure.
really?
In a lift.
No,
it
that's
wasn't
fine.
even out in the public.
I know.
Okay.
So you
Let 'em
reckon they
off.
should be
No
sent
problem.
home for this?
Oh, yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to try and stop that kind of behaviour, they obviously felt that they could get away
well,
with
there
it.
goes the Easter show because all those inflatable items
Exactly,
won't
the
be able
jumping
to be
castle.
used.
Isn't that what you do on a jumping castle?
You're soft on crime, you two.
It's what you do
You're
at Easter
soft
at the
on
family
crime.
lunch.
Exactly, it's like a pillow fight. But at Vegas, I reckon the security guards just went rogue. Anyway, tell us what you think. That's an interesting one. Yeah, I'm blaming the
Blame
security
the old
guards.
Vegas security guards. Okay.
Tell us what you think about this one. Were the footballers hard done by in this instance? See you guys. We'll see you next week. Here's Chevo.